I just remember writing it and feeling like it actually was like a page ripped out of my diary because it was so intimate and vulnerable.
That is Olivia Rodrigo talking about her 5-time platinum song, Driver's License. Every aspect of Driver's License has been meticulously probed and tinkered with, and yet none of these decisions compromise the authenticity of the track.
The song what it is.
There were a few other lines that you changed the lyrics on.
I bet you with that brunette girl, the one I always thought about.
And here's the finalized version.
And you're probably with that blonde girl who always made me doubt.
Olivia's changing the facts of the story, but somehow the song still maintains its integrity. That's because Olivia strips her song of any distractions. The lyrics, song production, and vocal performance are all in service of a singular emotion. Originally, Olivia placed herself, the narrator, in between the audience and emotions. In grammatical terms, Olivia made herself the subject, meaning she was the one carrying out the actions. But by making you the subject, the lines convey the sense that things are happening to Olivia, placing her in a state of helplessness, which serves the emotions of the song much better than the original edit. As with the lyrics, Olivia and her producer, Dan, optimize other parts of the song as well.
And pictured I was driving home to you.
It was way too fast.
We liked the movement of it all, but we felt like it was more emotional when it was slower.
By slowing the song down, Olivia has more time to convey the emotional weight of the situation, and her audience has more time to absorb it. And at the crescendo of the song, arguably the most emotional part, we see Olivia and Dan making tweaks once again.
Perfect, but I've never felt this way.
She originally wanted to sing it off falsetto, and I was like, you need to belt it.
Here's the finalized version.
And I just can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone.
And here's Olivia's perspective.
And I think that was the best decision ever. It feels so emotional. Throughout the whole song, it almost feels like I'm gonna break.
Guess you didn't mean what you wrote in that song about me.
It's so desperate, pining. And
Olivia demonstrates the potency of simplifying an idea, which is to say that simplicity done right does not reduce an idea. Rather, it defines the idea, making it easier to understand. I want to talk about Olivia's song Favorite Crime, but before we get there, we need to talk about her use of imagery. In Driver's License, Olivia uses imagery to make her song more immediate.
The word stop signs, I think it needs to be visual, and stop signs, and all of a sudden Olivia was like, red lights, and we were like, oh!
Red lights, stop signs.
Okay, it's all the things you're seeing when you're driving, and we were like, oh yeah!
White cars, front yards.
In perhaps Olivia's most complex song, titled Rose Song, she still simplifies her ideas like a minimalist interior designer, only splurging on splashy visuals when absolutely necessary. Applying Rodrigo's song to the Fleisch reading ease test puts the song at a 5th grade reading level, as evident by lines such as,
"'Cause I am more than what I am to you,"
which is only comprised of one-syllable words. By minimizing the footprint of her words, a word like pedestal pops, just by sheer contrast of the syllable count.
"'Cause I feel trapped on this pedestal you put me on."
The song is written from the perspective of the rose in Beauty and the Beast. Rather than write from the perspective of Belle, Olivia uses the rose as a medium for empathizing with the character, and as such, the rose becomes the focal point of the song. So here, Olivia is simultaneously talking about the rose, which has literally been placed on a pedestal and confined to a glass jar. But also, Belle is confined to the Beast's mansion in much the same way. An added wrinkle is that the song is written from the perspective of Nini, Olivia's character in High School Musical, the series. At the time, Nini is feeling constrained by the expectations of her boyfriend, Ricky, and the expectations she feels as a high school student trying to create music. The complexity of Olivia's song is that it needs to appeal to a diverse range of perspectives. It needs to be relatable to Belle, to Nini, to the show's viewers, and let's not forget, to herself as well. So every time Olivia adds an image and builds upon the metaphor, she needs to be sure that her ideas are pulling in the same direction, lest she compromise one of the many perspectives she's tending to.
You watch me wither, and now you watch me bloom. You're hiding in the dark, but I'm reaching for the sun.
Whether it's a complex metaphor or a complex emotion, Olivia is able to communicate ideas in a simplified manner, which is why her music is so universally appealing. There's an SNL skit that articulates just this point.
Wait, what am I listening to?
Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, man.
In fact, the song seemed to strike a chord with all ages and even inspired a sketch on Saturday Night Live.
Red lights, stop signs, I still see your face.
If Driver's License is an emotional ballad and Rose Song an empathetic metaphor, then Favorite Crime sits at the intersection of these two songs. The metaphor is as simple as this. Olivia shares as much intimacy, responsibility, and betrayal with her ex-boyfriend as a criminal shares with a partner in crime. She pares down all of her ideas as if bleaching the floorboards of a crime scene. But this is an unsuccessful endeavor, as she cannot scrub her ex from her memory, nor can she remove the most visceral lines from this song. We, as listeners, happen across the evidence of her relationship like detectives at a crime scene. Extending our own metaphor, the second half of verse 2 is dripping with blood-red imagery. Note how each verb colors the crime scene.
And I watched as you fled the scene, the white as you buried me. One heart broke, 4 hands bloody.
Now, in contrast, the top half of the verse makes use of rather plain and commonplace verbs.
Know that I loved you so bad, I let you treat me like that. I was your willing accomplice, honey.
As with Rose Song, her words form a cohesive story, not a single word out of place. Note how her use of syntactic parallelism packs a wallop of depth in the lines.
One heart broke, 4 hands bloody.
With the blisteringly efficient 6 words, Olivia is able to assign blame, both she and her ex are guilty. She's able to make her song more immediate. Heart and hand serve the same function as red lights and stop signs served in Driver's License. And she's able to advance tone with the evocative adjectives broke and bloody. She's economic with her word choice, frugal even. Look at how she uses the word crossed to breathe life into 2 tired idioms, resuscitating them in the process. Maybe the crime was a cold-blooded murder, or maybe she went to the grocery store and robbed an old woman of her coupons. And, as with Driver's License, this all culminates with an emotionally charged bridge, as denoted by the swell in Olivia's vocal delivery.
It's bittersweet to think about the damage that we do, 'cause I was going down, but I was doing it with you. Yeah, everything we broke and all the trouble that we made, but I say that I hate you with the smile on my face.
In conjunction with Olivia, Dan strips his instrumentation, pacing, and production to their functional skeleton, and thus the entire song manages to be the perfect murder weapon. Sleek without being flimsy, and weighty without being forceful. Naturally, we simplify our ideas when we edit our own work, but Olivia likes to edit the work of those she looks up to. In an interview with MTV News, she gives the advice to
listen to music like a songwriter.
Taylor Swift's Getaway Car is a natural comparison for Favorite Crime because, as Olivia observes,
I'm obsessed with the way that Taylor paints pictures, and her imagery is fantastic, and her storytelling is just like insane.
And Olivia's right. Getaway Car is replete with imagery. It's an embarrassment of riches, a king's ransom of allusions, idioms, and metaphors. If Olivia approaches the metaphor of Favorite Crime like it's an airtight vault, then Taylor has pillaged that vault and totes her metaphors around like a campy bank robber carrying a bag of money 5 times her size. In the first verse alone, Taylor plays off of Charles Dickens's famous "it was the best of times, it was the worst of times" line. She sets our expectations with the word match so that she can repurpose the word blue in a playful way. Next, she uses the word didn't to create syntactic parallelism. Then she uses more syntactic parallelism to create the imagery of black suits and ties, which is vintage heist movie, by the way, to playfully reinterpret the idea of white lies, and to set up the next line, which uses the color gray. Finally, Taylor ends with some semantic parallelism by juxtaposing wants and needs at the end of the verse. And the song doesn't relent. It keeps pace kind of like a getaway car in the heat of a chase. It would be unfair to say one song is better than the other. Getaway Car is an intellectual experience. It reads like a stand-up joke, or like a rap verse. Its success hinging on the unexpected nature of its setups and punchlines. Favorite Crime is, instead, an emotional experience. It's not trying to surprise its listeners, only to communicate one thought. In essence, Taylor is communicating many ideas while Olivia is only communicating one. When in conversation with the greats, we tend to only think of what we can add, not what we can refine. What Olivia brings to the conversation is an audacity, a belief that she can make the complex accessible. I think I hesitate to bite my tongue because I view myself as a complex individual, and if I'm forced to consolidate, then people won't understand the nuance of my character or the nuance of my circumstances. And so I find myself selectively gatekeeping, talking at volume to fewer and fewer people, only the people who I trust to listen, because the majority of people lack the time and effort to truly understand me. But Olivia flips this idea on its head. She's heard by far more people because she's more thoughtful about what she says. Or, to put things more simply, just because she says less does not mean she's actually saying less.
Your favorite crime. Your favorite crime.